this. And I'll now share the screen. And this came out from our last discussion about what are your challenges in business. And both, well, not both, but among a few of us were Grant and Tim mentioning that they need that way to stay top of mind with their client list without being too salesy, without being too high pressure, but to have the touch point that is upbeat and effective to foster those relationships and continue to develop business. So one of the things that was brought out in terms of those tactics, marketing strategies were newsletters. And it dawned on me that I know that a bunch of you are doing them. And I thought this would be a great opportunity for us to talk about the when, why, and how, and also talk about some best practices that you've had, some experiences that haven't worked, just so that we can all benefit from that common knowledge. So let's dive into newsletters, shall we? If I can figure out how to do it. There we go. Why do newsletters? What is the purpose? What is the objective? And obviously, whenever you're venturing into any marketing strategy, you start with why. Why am I doing this? What do I hope to get back from it? Where do I see the payoff to make sure that it makes sense for me and my business from an investment point of view and an ROI standpoint? So as briefly mentioned, the objective is to stay top of mind with a large client base when you can't be personally calling your clients the way maybe Peter or I could, where it's just like, all right, I've got a stable of a dozen people I need to be on top of, and I can touch point them regularly. When you're into the Grant Gilmore world, where you've got 22 people you're sending playing cards out to, that's a little tougher. So it's great for that. It can provide regular updates on important topics. The two keywords there are regular, because you should try and stay scheduled and not either be overwhelming or fall so far in between that you become irrelevant. And the second part of that is key, is the importance of the topics. And it's not just an excuse to send somebody an email. It's really something that's going to provide value to them. You can do this to keep the conversation light. And what I mean by that is, let's use Piero as an example, where his business of insurance, you tend to talk to your client when there's either a new cost involved or there's a claim to be placed. So it's not always the best news for them. So here's an opportunity to keep a conversation going that isn't so negative all the time, or at least a little bit lighter. But ultimately, what you're trying to do with the newsletter is to extend the customer experience. You've had a great back and forth, you've exchanged some business, but now what you want to do is make sure that they remember what a great experience they had in being your customer, and keep that good feeling rolling so that they remember to continue to be your customer, or find new reasons to be a different purchase involved in that sense. So that's why we look at newsletters. When is it the right strategy for your business? Some things you certainly need. One would be an email distribution list, because that's essentially what we're talking about here. We're talking about email marketing. And I think we should hope that we're all far away from the printing and mailing versions of newsletters that were happening a few decades ago. So we're definitely talking about email marketing, and what you would need for that is a solid distribution list that is curated and up to date. You should have some suitable content. And what I mean by that is it should fit the format of a newsletter. What is the format of a newsletter? Well, there are other options out there that we will talk about in terms of ways you can stay top of mind with your client, and things such as Facebook updates and things such as blogs. And those would be on the very wide spectrum of, this is a 12-word update and this is a 500-word article. And I think your newsletter should be somewhere in the middle there, where it is interesting and engaging, but it is not overwhelming. It's not a 3-minute read like you see on some articles that people post, or an 8-minute read, even worse. It's just those sound bites of great info, and it can be very visual. And that's what makes a good newsletter. That's the right kind of format I think we're looking at here. It's also something that we mentioned before, should add value. It's not just, hey, here's what we've been doing. Hey, here's how great we are as a company. It's something that the reader will find interest or value in, or it can be tips, it can be a contest, It can be, put yourself in the shoes of your client and say, they've just purchased my product or service. What is the first question they're going to have now? And for Joanne, it might be something like, how do you care for hardwood floors? How do you keep them clean? How do you get rid of squeaks with new installations? Things like that become great tips that you are trying to extend that customer experience through and provide more value beyond just the sale. And lastly, the content should be client focused. This is not necessarily a prospecting tool. This is not a way to get new people to call you and find new business. That's another channel, another strategy, another day. Right now, you're talking to your clients that you have a relationship with, that you want to reconnect with or stay top of mind with. So it's a very different flavor. It's a different message that you're using, and it's not salesy like we mentioned as part of the overall objective. When should you also do a newsletter? When you have the dedicated resources to manage the process. It's fantastic that Maria's on the call with us today, because that's exactly what makes for a good strategy here, is that you have somebody who is responsible for the content calendar, responsible for making sure it goes out, has an overall vision that goes across the entire project and is keeping it on point to that. It's not a fly-by-night option. It's not a, hey, I have a great thing I want to tell people, let's build a newsletter around that and send it out. And then a month later, you've got nothing, or you're too busy, or what have you. So the resources that you're looking for have that creativity to keep it visually appealing and interesting. Somebody who can be consistent in the process and ensure that it comes across professionally. So it's not something that you really want to take on yourself as a solopreneur if you can't dedicate regular time and energy into doing it. So that's kind of one of the best practices that'll fall out of this. Feel free to interject anytime with your own experiences or information. So the how, when we know why and when, the how we do it, I strongly suggest you're using a service like MailChimp or Constant Contact or whatever CRM is already built into your business, either through your own systems or your head office systems. It's got to be automated and easy like that. And if there's anybody who's not using these and feel intimidated, if you can manage Facebook, if you can manage Zoom meetings, if you can manage your email, you can manage MailChimp. It's very user-friendly. It's very easy to get up and running. And it also needs to have an opt-out feature for various legal reasons, whether it's, what is it called now? I can't remember. The make sure you're not spamming me service from the Canadian government, but you have to give the people the option to say, I don't want to receive these anymore. So they built those into these services, and they can help you manage your mailing lists appropriately. How you have success with it is with strong subject lines, that thing that shows up in your email when it drops in your inbox that has to grip you right away and say, this is something you want to read and it's very interesting and it's very useful. You really have to work on those strong subject lines, not just, Chris Cabral newsletter, volume 7, not working. So it's gotta, you gotta really grab people's attention with your subject lines. It's not so much a call to action. You're not, like I said, we're talking to existing clients. It's not prospects, but you do want to drive people from that newsletter to other points that you can continue to communicate with them, such as your website, such as your Facebook group page, or, whatever your account. You want to get people to say, I want to click on this. I want to take the next step. They've already committed to signing up for this newsletter, most likely, or have opted in through some other form that they filled out. So they are active in your books and they're willing to take on something else if you say to them, submit your response to my focus group question and be entered for a draw to win a gift card. They're game. And definitely presentation wise, you need visual, strong design, very appealing and easy to digest, not overwhelming, not a huge just article of text. If you've got to have copy and it's got to be a bit long, make sure you're breaking it up with great images that keep people rooted to it. Have call outs with large text that sum up these 3 paragraphs. So if they're not invested in reading it, they're still getting the message right out of the gate. use photos, use videos. And that's, that's what we can do with these MailChimp services and things like that. Absolutely. Spice it up and make it visual, because people are looking for that. Think Facebook. People want to see pictures, videos, and if it's text, they're scrolling, right? So think Facebook, and that's how you're going to keep people glued in. And if you have longer content that is going to sort of break that format, then be brief, synopsize, and link to it, and give them the option to read further if they want to. But don't expect that you're going to drop a 250-word article on them and they're going to read every word and hang off of it. So some really brief but important tips on how newsletters can help you and how they can hit their sweet spot in effectiveness by staying within the frame of what works through a newsletter. Let's break out right now and get your input on this. How many people are issuing a newsletter from their business today? Chris, Tim?
We are.
Yeah. Joanne, do you have one?
I don't have an official newsletter, no, but I've been doing some like email blasts.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they need to be more customer oriented for sure.
Yeah. I'm not currently doing one either. I know, Tim, I've seen yours. How do you find it working for your business in terms of keeping warm with all of your client list?
Is that
The usual suspects read it. Really, I was thinking last night I should do a word search find with about 25 names in it and just put the ones that I know are going to read the newsletter, make them happy. And I struggle with that. I've got to do it to stay top of mind. And again, the usual suspects appreciate it and gobble it up. But I think of the 240 that I send out, probably about 10 to 15% actually resonates with them. So
You have
I think you'd be surprised at that number, Tim.
What's that?
I think you'd be surprised at that number. People, even though they're not connecting and not responding, they're seeing it, and they're going to call you, and you're going to say, "Oh, geez, thanks for thinking of me," but you've been in their face, and that's why they're calling you.
Okay, good.
How long is your newsletter, Tim? Personally, I find it so challenging to try to come up. I've done it in the past, and then just trying to come up with original stuff, I find really challenging.
Yeah, I'm printed one page front and back. So I try and keep that sort of headline formula. I call it the Burley Press. And so I try and keep it to front and back. And really one business related thing. I've got a thank you in there for referrals. I like a little community section to, again, keep it light, but I don't want to overwhelm them with content, because I remember sitting down with Damon when I first met him and he said, "This is boring." So I purposely switched it up and put some more community-based fun things in there. But I
like that. I like that.
Now, do you have?
I'll send you a copy of the new one when it's.
Please do. Please. I might just be, again, I've seen some people in the production industry, and it's this sort of in-depth analysis, and just, I think the idea is to have tips, for people, but also the light and fun approach, so yeah, no, that would be very helpful, Tim. Thanks.
And where I see you can walk the line with that, Peter, is with infographics, where you can show an insight visually and people get it right away, but it's still in a cheeky, fun kind of way where it's creative in how it's presented, and that'll get their attention, but still make it light. Tim, my question for you is, do you have limitations on what you can do through Manulife in terms of your newsletter?
Absolutely. 100%. So I've got to keep it vague. Again, everything has to get approved. So putting something out timely that, oh shit, this happened yesterday, I got to get this out. That's not an issue, because they take 10 days to approve the damn thing.
Mm.
So
is it monthly, Tim?
I'm handcuffed with.
Is it monthly?
What's that?
Monthly? Are you doing it?
No, I used to do it quarterly. Now I'm just doing it twice a year.
Okay. That's not too bad.
Summer and a winter issue.
Tim, do they prevent you from just, okay, it's not a newsletter, but do they prevent you, but something has come up, you guys should call me? They won't prevent you from advising your clients to do something, like if something's come up and you want to get them to call you within the next 24 hours, they won't stop you from doing that, right?
No, and there's a difference between a mass email and one that goes out to an individual. So I could pick any individual and spout off with whatever I want. But if I use that same letter for more than one individual, it's considered a mass mailing and I have to get that approved.
A lot of limitations.
So yeah, so that's the thing, is to engage somebody into an individual conversation and then elaborate and answer whatever they want. But the trick is to hit those little points that invite somebody to engage with you afterwards, which I'm here to learn.
Yeah. So Grant, you have, I know in your industry, there's lots of services available where they say, we're producing the content, we're producing the format, we're sending out the newsletter, you sign up, we slap your picture and your contact information on it and it goes out the door. Do you find that works for you?
Yes, it's, I don't have time to do anything with it. So Maria organizes it. We signed up for, we have 3 CRMs now. We have the Flow, which we use through the coaching program that we do. We have Top Producer, which I've been using forever, and we're trying to get away from that because that's the most expensive one. And we signed up for iExact only because we get a free newsletter. So they do all the content. Am I correct, Maria?
Yeah, so they make it and then we can choose to add or customize articles. So that's what we do. We do like use their ones that they already make. And then we add like a trivia like every month. So like it's like a multiple choice and then they have to email me their answers and we always give away like a $25 gift card every month. But I do like how we can customize it because you were right, Damon. Like they make a lot of the content and I feel like it's good, but at the same time, it does need to be more client focused to more of our clients. Because I feel like it's very like general sometimes.
So with Desjardins Financial, I had a couple of interactions with 2 or 3 people, and their newsletter or their Christmas greeting is all standard, and I get the same exact newsletter from 3 different people.
Right.
So
That's what we want to avoid. The
And
biggest thing that I like about our newsletter is it's interactive. So that's why, Tim, when I said to you, you'd be surprised at how many people are looking at it and you don't even know they're looking at it.
There's
The
actually
reason that I said that was I went through a period where I was doing those contests with the word search and stuff like that. And it was always the same 20 people that responded. And I figured, hey, this is easy, like you did. This is easy. Here's something free. And I expected at least 100. And there's no way I got more than 25.
with our CRM, I can actually check. They give me stats on how many people have actually opened and how many, if like all of the emails got delivered. So I actually go through them and it's actually like you would expect it to be more, but it has actually gone down, especially as we send more. Then like the click-through rate, which is like just when they open it, has definitely gone down from when it started.
Is that
And you
because
can
it's,
use that through which CRM? So you send the letter through the CRM? and
Yeah,
see it that way? Okay.
yeah. So
Can you batch them?
what is
what do you
bad?
mean?
Don't send them all at the same time.
You can schedule them that way.
You can
You-
schedule, you can do like, so I use MailChimp
Yeah.
and I got, I got quite a few things to go over. You can send them out at different times because if say for me, we have like over 2,000 and when you send 2,000 in one shot, that like is spam.
Yeah.
So if I have a Gmail account, I might not even see that. It's probably just going to go right into a spam folder. So if you batch them at different times, it's also good to see what time works for you. Right?
Yeah.
There's so many variables.
You know, Chris, it's funny you say that because when we did our contest, or we mailed them all, Maria mailed them all out, and we had a huge response. And I'll bet you that a lot of people are not getting our newsletter because of that reason.
Yeah.
So
Like
are
the
you saying
thing-
that if you send a letter or an email with 500 names on it, that
Yeah.
automatically ties you into
There's a
spam.
possibility that the server will see them all as spam because it's all happening at once. I tried that, like, so we batch them, and I also have different categories because I can't send the same newsletter to everybody. Because I have one like every fall we'll add about 2,000 names, and then every time I send it out, 10% is gone because they opt out. Most of them say I didn't sign up for this, but we take it right off from where the people put in orders, and we have a VIP list. I know who's gonna work, what's gonna work with who and when. Because
Sean
Yeah.
Sean taught us about 3 months ago or 4 months ago about delayed send. I was just
Yeah.
wondering whether you could
Oh.
just take your 200 people or 3,000 or 2,000 people and, you know, send them out in batches of 5, and each one of them get delayed send with 5 minutes apart.
So Satish, I did that with like 60 emails,
Oh.
and I noticed that some of them got sent back because they're spam. So I don't know what the number is, but I send out like so in my, like, for the studio, we batch it, and you can only do like, because I use MailChimp and we're still free because we haven't hit the quota. So I'll use like batch A, batch B, and they send them at different times.
And how many are in each batch? Like how many emails?
I think they split it in half.
Oh, to whatever. Okay.
Yeah, but it depends on your CRM because you could probably batch it into 3, 4, 5 times.
Yeah, because
It's some days it works at this time, other days it's at that time. I mean, I've literally gone like months just trying to figure out when people look at Instagram photos, and you're gonna lose your mind. Like it's a game you don't want to play because everybody's all over the place with that.
I have a question. I know I'm late. Is there a consensus that newsletters are valuable or not valuable? Because in the last year, I've been told it's not valuable. And if you are doing a newsletter, is there a consensus? If it is considered valuable, is there a consensus on the time in between you send your newsletters, quarterly, monthly?
Satish, do you have like repeat customers?
By and large, yes, but they're not, they're not the
Yeah,
majority,
so-
but I have repeat customers, yes.
You should have a list just for that reason, and you sort of just to sort of stay in touch, just so that they know that you're still in business.
But
It's
also,
really
your clients
Yeah.
also progress from
yeah.
real estate to wills to like
Yeah.
like you have a timeline for it that you should definitely have a managed
Yeah.
contact
Satish
list.
and I sort of have the same issue where our clients can graduate to a different
Sure.
genre or whatever you want to call it in terms of their like in their lifetime. So you sort of, man, I'll send out a daycare email and I'll get a wedding out of it for a daycare. Like it's just like you need your call to action has to be direct to like an email that'll send right to me. Like you want I'm only giving this shoot to 10 people, sign up right now, and the email goes right to me. And then the call to action, you sort of, for my business, if I send them to anywhere other than send me an email, I lose them. Because if they go to the internet, then you get stuck in that whole rabbit hole. Then you get stuck watching like cat videos on YouTube. There goes my business.
I think the point you have, Satish, there, it's a good question, and it's what you define a newsletter, how you define it. What we used to call newsletters don't work anymore.
Right.
Because a newsletter used to be, there was no internet to get your news. So everything that now goes on a website, you used to wait and you would get it monthly, quarterly, or twice a year. And that's when you caught up on that business. I gave up doing a newsletter where we are because by the time we post something monthly, if it happened at the beginning of the month, it's out of date now. So now all we do is send out an update that shows here's what we've posted on our website and our social media feeds over the past month, just to sort of let people know that, oh, that's the sort of thing that if I follow those feeds, I'm going to know about right away.
Mm-hmm.
And to Chris's point there, like once they're into a certain stream, that's where you have to interact with them, because asking them to pick up a printed newsletter, fill out a form, or make a phone call, or jump from on the web to another way to
Yeah.
contact you, there's a disconnect and you lose people. So I
You
don't
want-
think we can call it a newsletter anymore. It's more, it's an information piece of some sort, but it's not news anymore.
Yeah, you want them to contact you from where they're looking at you from. So if I catch you on Facebook, I want you to contact me on Facebook. I don't want you to go to my website because, oh yeah, and then you start clicking away, and then you know it's like a hamster, just spinning
Right.
around.
So I'm going to echo what Brett said there about the fact that newsletters have evolved and it's not really the same thing it used to be. So in that sense, it is part of a larger strategy. And to widely answer your question, Satish, yes, they're still effective. Grant will attest to it. But it's part of a bigger strategy that now also includes things like your blog, your social media channels, social media page, your website. And if you're involved in podcasts or video casts and YouTube, then it's part of all of those things. Some of these, some people might say, like Brett, we abandoned it because it's labor intensive, and we can accomplish much of the same by being very active on our social media page. And if we have a Facebook group page, that's our sort of our client group, not just a prospecting, where we run contests and we give perks to people that are committed clients. So, it can all be replaced by what's happening online right now. But there's still a market out there that benefits from getting those tips and insights, and where it might not be big enough to support a blog post where you've got one great tidbit of information. You can either, if you throw it into the social media channel, it gets lost in the buzz too. It just gets, in the wave of scrolling through. So if you have somebody who is willing to say, if you have updates from me on this topic, I'm interested to hear them. If you have regular offers that come through on a regular basis that are special for clients, I'm interested to catch those. Then yes, there's definitely a lot of value for that.
Damon, may I ask the question of blog versus newsletter?
Yep.
And which would you say, if say I'm going to commit to, a monthly communication with my clients,
Yep.
Should that energy be put towards a blog, which obviously is great for SEO and people finding, me on a Google search, or is that effort better placed into a newsletter that I'm sending to clients?
Okay, so I'm not an expert, but my professional opinion on this is that a blog is great for those. What you're saying basically is like, I want that regular communication. It will straddle the line between client focused and prospecting, because like you say, it goes out for SEO, and somebody who's searching for 10 tips on how to write a good newsletter is going to find that article, even though they're not a client and never heard of you. It shows value add for your clients, and these are all great points. The other benefit to the blog is you design it once. It's on your website. It's housed there. You don't have to redesign it every quarter, every month, biannually, whatever you're doing. You're only adding the next piece of the design to the puzzle by adding the next post. So it's much less labor intensive for you. And honestly, you want to sit and brainstorm 6 fantastic topics related right to your business that highlight your value. You can do that in 3 hours. And then you just have to flush out those articles, find the right sources to back it up. And, you can can them and then release them as you need to. So a blog is 80% of the value of a newsletter canned and ready to go. What you don't get is those things that you can do now on Facebook instead, which are, hey, fill out this, form for entering into a contest, or we're giving away a barbecue because we, whatever it is, the fun, lighter part of things, that doesn't work in a blog, but it does work in your social media, and it does work right to your mailing list. So I don't think that it's an either or. I think that you can recycle the same content through different channels as well.
That's exactly what I was going to ask, is that I think if I'm doing something monthly, but going to do the newsletter quarterly,
yep,
that I take sort of the highlights, the best of.
And I really think you write that key article with that key insight, and then you support it with an infographic that goes in your newsletter. And then you do a Facebook Live post that just says, hey guys, I wanted to bring to your attention that we've got this amazing blog post. We've got a lot of great feedback from it. Here's the link, enjoy. And it's all part of the big wheel and part of the big mix to keep everybody aware. Go ahead, Steve.
So I mean, so each of us, with each of our jobs, it might be different in terms of the frequency. I think if you get a weekly email from me, it's definitely going to go into spam for you because you'll get so irritated. However, Loretta Finney, like for Grant, he might find this interesting. Loretta Finney sends me an email every Friday, and I actually check it out, because I just want to see how these $13 million homes look like, or a $2 million home out in Oakville, or a $2.5 million home in Mississauga. I check it out. So for a real estate agent, it might work or make sense to do a weekly, whereas for me, I think anything less than quarterly would be a complete irritation for the people on the receiving end of my newsletter or blog or whatever. Whereas for Grant, it might be monthly or weekly. I know there are 3 agents, I think two agents send me stuff. One agent sends, so like Loretta Finney, what she does, one agent sends all the houses that were listed in Peel that were sold, that are listed over $1 million, sold over $1 million, listed under. So he just does this breakdown. I check it out occasionally, not frequently. But Loretta Finney, I check it out every week because I just want to see what the expensive homes are looking like nowadays. I want to see those interiors.
Yeah, you're right. You're right on the nose, Satish. It depends on your business. It depends on how often people will expect or want to hear from you. But I think even more importantly, it's, are you giving them something of value every time you talk to them? So if I get the, Throwback Thursday email from somebody on every week, and it's just kind of a fun little thing, I'll check it out. Like, it doesn't matter if it's every week. I get daily emails from my online casino with new offers, and I'm like, okay, I'm reading every single one. Sometimes it doesn't apply and I'm gone to the next thing, but it's working for them. Like, they're definitely keeping me on the hook. So it definitely, depends on your business, but most importantly, it's got to have insight and creativity. And think about what works for you. Think about, like you're saying, what lands in your email inbox that keeps your attention and what gets shuffled off. I have probably 6 things that I get weekly that I delete immediately, that I've never taken myself off a distribution list for, because once I was interested and I wanted the updates, and now I'm still on the line, and I never react to them. But it's not like an annoyance now. It's something where I was like, yeah, I should probably take myself off the Calvin Klein mailing list, but I still really like Calvin Klein, so I'm just gonna maybe someday. But
Okay, but on Satish's note there, so Satish, the only reason why you looked at those those emails was because it had something that you were interested in. You wanted to see the interior of those $2 million or $3 million homes, correct?
exactly.
You're muted.
Sorry, Satish, you're muted.
Looks like he's saying yes, though, Grant.
There was an interior in there. Sorry, there was a steal in there. There was like a $1.8 million home for about 4 months ago, and out in Mississauga. I couldn't afford it, but it was a steal for that price. And yeah, so I check it out every Friday, and either Friday or Saturday I'll check it out. And I guess the timing also works because I'm not work stressed at that time. I am looking forward to the weekend. I think her timing works there as well. So that's the real estate agent stuff. And I don't know how I got onto her list, but she sends
1.8 million, Satish. It must have been a dump. Yeah.
Mississauga. No, it was. I think it was like 3,000.
Well,
Yeah, it must have been a semi.
Yeah. No, fully attached, Grant.
That's right.
So, to circle back to that question about the blog, Peter, I think that it's not the blog that replaces the newsletter as much as it might be the podcast. I think that's really the greater jump to say it's timely, it's interactive, it's light, but it's also insightful. It's directed specifically at a market that is subscribed to it. It's not out for the general public that they're just going to trip over it necessarily. You can be personality, you can have creativity, you can exude all the things that I think are easier for the group of us to do, rather than say, well, we're not all graphic designers, but we can all command the room. We can all take the mic and run this place. And that's what makes us actually pretty good candidates for a podcast more than a newsletter. So that's kind of the transition that I want to make into next week's topic, where we can say, if you are a newsletter producer today, are you ready to graduate into something that is even more visual and more interactive and more stimulating? It might be less of a commitment. It just might be more intimidating, right? It's easier to sit and talk in front of a mic sometimes than it is to write an article. But for some people, they may say, well, I don't want to be on camera, or I'm not comfortable with the technology. So we're going to try and break down some of those barriers to entry into being a podcaster or a guest, because it might be even smarter for you to say, you know what, somebody else is doing this. They've got the machine up and running. Peter's a pro already. Peter, can I be your guest at an upcoming episode where I can either dip my toe or get my name out there, or give me something that I can now put into my social media feed so that people can see that I'm doing this. It might be great, because I know a lot of podcasters out there are hungry for more content, more guests, more points of view, where they can still be the star of the show, but they can bounce off somebody else. So we're going to tackle all of that in our next meeting. And if there's anything else you want to add about newsletters before we put a pin in it, please speak up. But that's what I've got right here.
So you have to know who your audience is. So what we have found out with our last little game that we did there, some of our clients are elderly. They don't read our newsletter. They don't get our newsletter. We don't have their email address. But so we mail them quarterly, and they get that. With the newsletter, we mailed out every single person that we knew. And it was amazing how many people phoned and said, I don't have email. I'm not on Facebook, but can I still play? So you have to know who your audience is.
Definitely. Cool.
And just to add one more thing to that, also, it was very hard. I found that one person, okay, maybe just one of them, actually phoned the office and was like, I don't play poker. I don't ever want to be involved in like poker games. So like, you can try to come up with something fun, but there's always going to be that one person, who's just going to make everything more of a problem than it is.
Sorry.
So that was just a fun little thing that happened.
Sorry about that. I won't do it next time.
I just won't be hearing from you anymore. Piero, are you not doing anything in a newsletter format at all?
No, we've stopped newsletters years ago. We found no value to them. What we're doing now is we're going more digital. We just invested a ton of money beginning of this year on a digital platform that's going to be integrated with our CRM. So we're going to use that tool for notifying clients of coverages that they're missing or coverages that are now available. We are also going to be doing like if your policy is coming up, it's going to be an automatic email going out to people. Also, this marketing, I'm trying to see what it is here. This marketing solution thing that we've done also has a library of a whole bunch of articles that it'll be branded our brand, and it'll be sent out to clients. And maybe we'll reach out and do some social media stuff. I'm not sure yet. We're not there yet with social media, but I think the key with us is with our clients. We need to connect with our clients. And the nice thing about this is, and Satish, you were saying you love that newsletter that Finney sends out. I would hate it. So for every person that likes it, there's gonna be someone that hates it. So that's why it's important. I think Grant said it, or maybe Damon, you said it, that you have to target the person, that individual person. That's what we're going to do. We're going to be targeting one client at a time. The system is going to be so smart that it will know which clients have what, and it'll be automatic, because you got to make it painless and not take up a lot of your time, what you mentioned earlier. So we're excited about this. Hopefully it's going to work out. It's been in progress for 8 months, and we're going to launch it hopefully in this fall.
Pierre, you're absolutely right. The problem is scale. So, I mean, you're a slightly, obviously larger operation than I am. I'm a sole practitioner. If I try to target to each of my clients, I'll be spending 7 days a week here figuring out how to target. So for me, I have to do something along scale. I mean, I clearly have to change it from a newsletter. I haven't done a newsletter ever, but perhaps a video. Peter and I did a video. I still have to put it up online. Peter and I did a couple of videos, and maybe instead of calling it a newsletter, I call it an, informational or whatever, and then add a video and then maybe a small blurb or an article about it, something important. Therefore, it's more interactive as opposed to an old newsletter where people say, I don't want to read that crap from Satish.
Yeah, and that's fine, Satish. But in our situation, we have like, I don't know, 5,000 clients. I have to streamline. I have to streamline the efforts. We don't want to start spending a lot of time on it. So if there's a system that can do it, but in something for yourself, you could, like, for example, you did a closing, and then you can send out an email or an information. Hey, starting a family, let's, talk about wills and all that. Like there's a strategy, there's a marketing strategy that you could use, and don't send out, do you want a will to somebody that already has a will. This is what I'm finding with newsletters that, remember the newsletter, Grant, you would remember this. Oh, spring's coming up, clean your gutters, clean. Yeah, but if I live in a condo, I don't want to clean my gutters. So
Right.
You have to target the individuals. So, and Brett, you were saying too, it's got to be an interest to that person, or else why am I reading this? Why am I wasting my time?
What used to happen is we called it the shotgun approach, right? You threw out a message and you sprayed it to everybody, and you knew that you were going to hit the few people.
Yeah.
But what you're doing now, coming from the States, it's the gun analogy. Now use a rifle. You're not going to hit the 2 people on either side, but you're going to get that person that you really want to, and you're going to have a much more effective message. It's more expensive in some ways because you're having to tailor by group. So Satish, maybe, I'm going to target one group that around wills, another one around real estate, another one, whatever, as Piero talked about. So it doesn't have to be one per person. Maybe it's a group of 500, 500, 500. But at least then you're not wasting your efforts sending it out to 2,500 people who really don't care about a will at this point, right, or are not looking at buying a house right now. You can focus in a little bit more and get more bang for your buck.
No, and that's a good point too. So just to give you an idea, person I was talking to yesterday, we were talking about being good on the phone, how to talk to people, how to market and whatnot. And this girl said to me, she said, I had a guy for 2 years call me about cleaning my carpets. Not once did he ask if I had any carpets. I don't have any carpets. So he wasted his time on this, even though he was fantastic on the phone and she loved, and it was the same guy every month. She finally told him, you didn't ask me the number one question. And we already have the data, Satish, in our system. If people own a home, if they own a condo, and we have all the data that we need to make the newsletter or whatever you're sending out to make it effective for those people.
Who is ever in charge of the duct cleaning marketing campaign? I want to be part of them because I get 2 calls a day. And I tell them I have no ducks in my house, no ducks. But they still call. So if I could somehow leverage that for video production, I think I'd be very happy.
Yep.
All right, thanks.
Now, I don't know
everybody.
if it relates, David. I flipped over that email to you. I saw in the Mississauga News today where the Ontario BIA just announced some new funding streams for transferring to digital technologies for brick and mortar businesses. So I'd see if maybe we can share that link, but it might be worthwhile if you're looking at doing something like that where you're going to go to a digital style of newsletter or distribution. This grant may be able to help cover some of those costs associated with it. I think you can get up to like $2,500 or something like that.
Is that Digital Main Street?
Yeah, Digital Main Street. Yeah, Chris.
And maybe share that in the chat if you can, please.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and find it right now.
I'm gonna stop the recording here.